Hello there, silly little gay people in my computer. I hope you all are having a lovely day. I am doing pretty alright. I just wanted to talk today about one of my latest hyperfixations because, naturally, of course, this would fall right into my realm of interest because I'm a furry little freak. People have a lot of opinions about Hazbin Hotel, so I'm kind of here trying to offer a bit of a more balanced take on the show. A lot of people have overwhelmingly negative opinions on the show, and then there's also some people that, like, really overpraise and overhype the hell out of it, and I'm here to kind of, like, you know, balance that out, give a little bit of a more nuanced critique, as somebody who really enjoyed Season 1, but at the same time, like, I recognize there was a lot of definite flaws and issues with it that definitely lowered the experience overall for me. And I wanted to talk about how Season 2 actually fixed a lot of these issues I had, and not only fixed them, but also, like, Season 2 really is, like, the culmination of what I wanted to see out of Hazbin back when I first saw the pilot in 2019. So I just kind of want to give my thoughts on it. I mean, like, yeah, Season 1 was really rough, especially in terms of the pacing. It seems like a lot of the reason for this was because Amazon or A24 or whichever one of them funded the show a bit more thoroughly didn't really provide enough budget for them to do more than 8 episodes, and even then, those episodes they did make were very limited on runtime and animation budget and that sort of thing. And I feel like that is part of the reason why Season 1 had so many pacing issues as a whole. Because, I mean, when you look at Helluva Boss, it doesn't really have a lot of those same pacing issues. Really, the only noticeable part is, like, maybe, like, the end of Season 2, but, like, everything else is paced pretty decently in Helluva Boss. And so Season 1 of Hazbin was really weird because it's like, they were trying to tell a story. They had, like, already had the story in mind, I'm assuming, for Season 1, and then when they found out the budget they were going to be getting and were like, oh shoot, we don't have time to tell this story, so they just did the best with what they could, is what the vibe I'm getting. And, like, Vivzy Pop actually talked about this on her Twitter for a little bit, so I mean, there's part of that. It doesn't really excuse the way that the season turned out entirely, because there are ways they could have tightened it up and that sort of thing, but at the same time, like, I still enjoyed a lot of Season 1, and overall, I thought it was a fun time. Season 2, however, because Season 1 proved itself so much, it's very clear to me that, like, whoever was in charge of the funding gave them a lot more to work with this season, because, like, the animation quality is so much higher and overall so much more fluid, especially during those action scenes in, like, Episode 4 and Episode 8, and during some of the songs, like, particularly, like, Brighter, just, like, drove me fucking crazy. And then also, like, the episodes are much longer now, whereas, like, with Season 1, they pretty much always ended, okay, 24 minutes, 24 minutes, 24 minutes. Every episode has to be 24 minutes because you're limited to that length. But I think they clearly were given a little bit more freedom to experiment with the episode length. All of them are longer than 24 minutes this season. I think the average episode is like 28 minutes, which is pretty lengthy, honestly. Like, you wouldn't think about it when it comes to television, because, like, oh, that's just, like, what, an extra 4 minutes? But, like, that 4 minutes is, like, a good, decent chunk of the show. You're able to get another song in there for a show like Hazbin. You're able to delve more into characters, let things sit a little bit longer, and then you get to some of the later episodes, which are just full on, like, 30 minutes, or then, like, Episode 8 is, like, 38 minutes, so it's almost a double-length episode. And it's like, that really seriously helps with the pacing a ton. This season's narrative also felt a lot simpler and more focused, which I think was good. I think they knew going in, they're like, okay, we kind of screwed up with Season 1 because we went for such a large-scale conflict with Adam and everything, and we didn't have enough time to really show Adam a lot on screen. Like, his only appearances were pretty much, like, Episode 1, Episode 6, and then Episode 8, even though he's the main driving force of the plot. But meanwhile, in this season, you have Vox, who's, like, the driving force of everything, and he appears in pretty much every single episode. And I think that that's really overall a benefit. A lot of people I've seen complaining that Vox, like, took over the season and he made it worse overall, but I honestly couldn't disagree more. He is the main antagonist of the season, so he provides most of the inciting incidents for the plot, which necessitates him being there a lot more prominently. I also don't really think he detracts a lot from the other characters' arcs and screen time. Like, yeah, certain characters do get less screen time this season, but at the same time, it's like, those who do get screen time, they feel like they serve their purpose to the narrative well. They have an interesting character arc, even if it's a bit shorter. And even then, like, Vox being there, the way they flesh him out, because he's such a constant presence in this season, honestly makes him probably the most well-written character in the show and the most well-fleshed out. Just because of the amount of time we get to really dig into, okay, why the fuck is Vox like this? What is his goal? And I think that they really nailed it with him. He quickly, like, shot up to, like, my top 5 characters in the series. Changing a little bit, of course, to the songs for a second before we talk about more characters. I think most of them are a lot better than season 1 as well. I loved the season 1 soundtrack. I still love a lot of those songs, but a lot of them felt like they ended before they really got going. Like, one of the most obvious examples to me feels like Out for Love. Like, that song's only like a minute and a half, and it very much feels like it was written with a second verse in mind, but they just couldn't make it because of budgetary restrictions and timing restrictions and that sort of thing. But now it feels like, if you look at the song lengths, they actually generally aren't all that much different from season 1 songs. Like, some of them maybe have like an extra 30 seconds or maybe an extra minute on some of them. But like, and there are some longer songs, of course, and there's some shorter songs. I think the shortest one is Vox Day, but even then that's like what, a minute and 20 seconds. So it's at the end of the day, it feels like they're written with their short runtimes in mind. So they feel more complete. It doesn't feel like you're ending the song just as it's getting started. It feels like they're really getting everything they can out of the songs. And like, some of my personal favorites from the show are in this season. Like, most of them, honestly, I think, because like Brighter, I mean, Brighter and Gravity both. I love a good villain song. Those are both absolutely phenomenal. Brighter especially, I think, is my favorite of the entire season. And then you have Live to Live, which is like, I haven't seen a lot of people talking about it, and when I have, they all put it toward the bottom of their like top songs lists, and I'm like, really? Like, that's insane to me, because you look at like that opening part from Serpentious and like, oh my god, it's like, okay, I see why they decided to take the direction of making him the first redeemed sinner in this show, and it works really well. And like, it also made me like It Starts With the Sorry a lot more in retrospect. I still don't think I'd listen to that song on its own outside of the context of the show, but it likes the reprisal in Live to Live makes me like it a lot more. And then Love in a Bottle is like absolutely phenomenal, and it's like something really interesting I noticed with it is like, it's a direct parallel to Angel Dust's Poison in season 1. So it's like, you have Poison, which is showing how Angel's line of work and the way he's being abused by Valentino is absolutely destroying him. But then you have at the end of the song where his voice breaks and you finally start to see the mask slip, and you see, oh my god, okay, this is a persona he's putting on in order to cope with what's happening to him. And then you have a similar thing with Husk in season 2 and his alcoholism. You have that in Love in a Bottle, where it's just like, it starts with him like, you know, indulging in his vices because everything's gone to shit. And then you slowly throughout the course of the song see that absolutely destroy him. And I think that's really interesting. It's very good that like they've positioned Angel and Husk in a really interesting way where they have a lot of parallels to each other, but they also are very different characters. And I think that works really well. I mean, and of course there's like the obvious fact that, yeah, they're going for a ship with them. And it's like, I'm just very excited to see where that goes, especially considering how Angel's story ended this season. I'm really excited to see where they take that in the future. I also think it's funny how that there are like 6 dedicated Vox songs where he's like the primary singer. You've got like what? Don't You Forget Reprise. You've got Vox Populi, Vox Day, Brighter. There's a handful of others that I'm bad with us. There's a handful of others that I'm missing. And it's like, literally not one of them misses. Christian Borle acted his ass off this season. Like, every single Vox song kicks so much ass in this season. And then in terms of the other characters that I really liked this season, Sarah actually really surprised me. I thought she had some really great moments this season, especially with her whole arc of like, hey, I now know that I was in the wrong, that I led to the deaths of all of these sinners who could have potentially been saved. And I think dealing with that agony and showing the weight of that decision on her is really interesting. And then of course her 2 songs, her 2 primary songs, you have Live to Live and Sarah's Confession, are absolutely phenomenal. I mean, those songs are absolutely perfect, and the voice actress whose name I forget, unfortunately, but she did really, really well with those songs. And honestly, that also, I will say that is only one of the only like times I really noticed a pacing issue with the season was like in episode 2 when we went straight from Like You from Emily and Pentious to Sarah's Confession literally back to back. Like, those 2 songs being right back to back was a little bit weird in terms of pacing, but aside from that, that's the only time I really noticed it this season. And then you also have Serpentious. Like, he shot up my list this season just because we finally got to see his backstory a lot more, and we got to see, like, why he went to hell, and, like, that in action, and that, like, when he saw, you know, fucking Jack the Ripper, he witnessed those murders and did nothing. And I think that's a really interesting direction to say, like, hey, yeah, his sloth is what damned him here, and I think that's really fascinating. And then seeing that his action in that finale is what got him redeemed, his action, because it is the opposite of sloth. Instead of standing by while more people are hurt, he is taking that initiative to sacrifice himself to save others. I think that's really interesting, and it made me like Pentious a lot more, especially with like the dynamic they hint at between him and Baxter was really fun. And then, speaking of Baxter, he didn't really have a ton of presence this season. I really enjoyed what we did see of him, but overall, I think that he had a decent place in the season. And I'm excited to see more of him in the future. I liked the hinting between his relationship with Pentious. I liked I just liked Baxter's personality, honestly. Like, I like that part at, like, the end of episode 7 where Charlie's like, hey, why are you willing to help us? He's like, well, you always put my blanket at a 45-degree angle. And I'm like, okay, you're so autistic, buddy, and I love that for you. It's like, goddamn. Anyway, another character that the other major new character this season, Abel. A lot of the season I was like, okay, Abel, why are you here? What are you up to? What is your point in the narrative? I was never really annoyed by him, but I definitely got the vibe that, like, okay, this is a little bit weird. I'm not sure why he's here. But then we got to his part in Hear My Hope, and I'm like, oh, okay, Fallout Boy, I get it now. And I like him a lot more, and I'm excited to see what they do with him in the future. That's my big thing with both Baxter and Abel. I think we got really good introductions to them in this season, and I'm really excited to see what they do with them in the future. It also makes me more excited, especially Baxter, to see like more of the characters that Vivzy Pop talked about before the series was greenlit, like other characters that'll come to stay at the hotel eventually. I'm just like, give me the punk rocker hyena girl, give me Criminy, or give me death. And then my other big thing is, like, I absolutely loved, like, kind of like I hinted at with Pentious, where I loved getting to see more of his backstory in the human world. This is what I'm really here for with Hazbin, like, seeing this part where it's like getting to see Alistair as a human and what he's like now, getting to see what Vox was like as a human and what he's like now, and that sort of thing, and like seeing those progressions of like how these characters have fallen into their worst habits. I want to see more of that. And given the hinting we got with Angel Dust and like his whole deal with Patricide, and knowing a little bit of what I know because I've seen some stuff that was talked about before the series was greenlit, I'm really curious to see what they do with Angel Dust in the future in this show. Like, I'm really hoping we get more of this next season. I'm hoping we get a deep dive into what Angel's life was like in the mortal world, and seeing how that changed him and how that influenced who he became in Hell. I think that would be really fascinating, and I feel like that's the direction they're gonna go. Yeah, honestly, overall, I think that's about all I had to say about Hazbin Season 2. Overall, massive, massive improvement over Season 1. Like, Season 2, honestly, is what I wanted from Hazbin from the beginning. Season 1 had a little bit of a very rough start, let's be honest. But overall, I think they're finally hitting their stride, and it makes me really, really excited to see what they do next. Anyway, thank you all for watching. Make sure you like, hype the video, all that jazz. Subscribe if you want to see more stuff like this. Still working on those more long-form videos. They are coming eventually, and I'm really excited to get working on them because I have some really fun topics I'd like to talk about. It's just going to convince you all that even more that I am a piece of shit furry. So, with that said, you all have a lovely rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now.